and welcome to Dice vs Cards. Today we're looking at Ethnos, a set collection and card drafting game where you need to pick the right cards at the right time for you to assemble a motley crew that will allow you to use the area control elements of the game to spread your dominion over the board. Now you play as leaders looking to unite 12 disparate tribes. Imagine trying to marry up dwarves and orcs, or getting trolls and merfolk to speak the same lingo. That's your job here. So let's see how this plays and whether this could be the next game for you. So the object of the game is for you to be the player with the most glory at the end of 3 ages or rounds of play. To set up the game, you'll need to shuffle all the glory tokens and place them in the 3 glory spaces adjacent to each kingdom, and then sort them all into ascending order. Each player will need to bring their own coloured control markers and place one of those on space 0 on the glory track. Then you'll need to randomly select 6 tribes to play from, and you can do that using the setup randomizer cards. So here we have the elves, giants, wizards, centaurs, skeletons and winged folk. You'll then need to shuffle all of these tribes to form one ally deck. And then you'll need to take the 3 dragon cards that come with the game and randomly shuffle them into the bottom half of the ally deck. Each player will then draw 1 card from the ally deck to start the game. And just as a note, some tribes come with certain accessories, like the giants that bring this token to the game and will have different effects depending on what tribe, details of which can be found in the rulebook. You'll then populate the marketplace by placing a number of cards from the top of the ally deck equal to the number of players times 2. So in this 4-player example, we'll start with 8 cards in the marketplace. You're then good to go. So once you've randomly selected the first player on the first stage, each player will take one of 2 actions and then pass to their left. Now the first of the available actions is to recruit an ally. Now to do this, you either take one of the face-up cards in the marketplace or draw the top card of the ally deck. Now the fundamentals of the game are that you're trying to collate a hand of cards that are either all of the same colour or all of the same tribe. So you'll see here that player 1 started the game with a purple centaur card. So they're going to decide to take this purple elf card. The next available action to each player is to play a band of allies. Now to do that, you're going to take any number of cards from your hand that either share a colour or a tribe. Now you'll then lay those down in front of you and pick a leader from those cards. Now the reason for that is twofold. The first is that the leader will then grant the signature ability of its tribe to the player. So here we played the centaur and the elf cards and chosen the centaur as the leader. That will then allow us to play another band of allies immediately after, almost like taking 2 actions for the price of 1. However, because we have no cards left in our hand, we won't be able to use that ability. Now the second reason is that once you play a band of allies, you're looking to place one of your controller markers on the player board, but you have to do so on the coloured kingdom that corresponds to the leader that you've picked. So here, player 1 would then need to place one of their controller markers on the purple kingdom Duris on the board. Now quite often you'll find that you're unable to play all the cards in your hand to form one band of allies. Now every time you do that, you need to discard any unused cards and place them face up in the communal marketplace for other people to recruit. Now you'll also see that it will become harder to place controller markers on kingdoms on the board. Now the reason for that is anytime you do play a band of allies, you need to check that the kingdom that corresponds to the colour of your leader has a number of controller markers that are fewer than the size or number of cards that you've played and laid down in front of you. So for example, the first time you play a controller marker in a kingdom, you only need to play a band of allies with at least 1 card. But then the second time you need to play a band with at least 2 cards, then 3 and then so on. Now the reason you're looking to take control and have the most controller markers in each of these kingdoms is because you're going to be fighting over these glory points at the end of each age, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a moment. Now, just to give a couple more examples of some of the tribe's signature abilities to give you a flavour of the game, we have the elves that will allow you to keep up to X cards in your hand. Now, X is always equal to the number of cards that you've laid down in front of you that form your band of allies. So if you played a band of allies with 3 cards, you'll be able to retain another 3 cards in your hand instead of discarding them all to the communal marketplace. Now, skeletons also act as kind of like a wild card because they can be paired with any other tribe and count as any other colour, but they are removed from your band of allies before you score at the end of each age. And players will continue to take an action and then pass to their left until all 3 dragon cards have been drawn from the ally deck. Now, after the first and second dragon cards are drawn, that player will draw another card as their action after they reveal the dragon card to all players. But as soon as the third dragon card is drawn, that immediately ends the current age and we move to end of age scoring. Now, this will differ slightly dependent on what age you're currently in, but let's just say, for example, we've just completed age 1. This means that only the first glory token will be up for grabs in terms of points. Now, the player with the most control markers in a kingdom will be the person that will gain access to that points at the end of age 1. So here, black's 2 control markers will beat the white's 1 control marker, and the black player will get 2 points, and you'll place the control marker up the glory track accordingly. So let's fast forward to age 3, and this is where all 3 glory tokens in each kingdom are up for grabs. And here you get a number of points for having the most control markers, the second most and the third most.
Blah 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 blah.
Now, you'll also get points at the end of each age for the differing sizes of band of allies that you played throughout. So here, if you played a band of 3 allies, then you'll get 3 points for each of those. And if you played a band of 5 allies, you'll get 10 points for each of those, and so on. Now, certain tribes will also have their own unique scorings, so we talked about this earlier. The giant token will also have specific rules to gain further points, details of which can be found in the rulebook. Now, once you've scored at the end of each age, you'll discard all the allies in front of you, all the allies in the marketplace, and imagine you were just setting up the game again, populating the ally deck accordingly. And you'll rinse and repeat that process throughout all 3 ages, and at the end of the 3rd age, after end of age scoring, the player with the most points is the winner. So that's how this game plays. What did I think of it? So who is this game for? Well, it's light to medium weight and it fits in that gateway game category. Now, if you like the idea of that fast-paced set collection that you can find in a game like Rummy, and you want to spread your wings a little bit, you want to sprinkle a little area control dust on there and put it in a fantasy setting, then there's probably something here for you. Now, you might want to consider this if you liked Rococo, published by Eggertspiel and Eagle Gryphon Games, or Alhambra, published by Queen Games, although this is a little bit lighter weight than either of those. So in terms of gameplay, well, there's a simple and elegant core to this game that does tie together all the mechanics very nicely. There's well considered player scaling, so if you're playing with 2 or 3 or up to 6 players, there's going to be some variant rules for you to learn that isn't particularly arduous or difficult to remember, that's going to make for a playthrough that's appropriate no matter what the player count. Now, this is an extremely fast-paced game. Invariably, you're going to be like action, pass, round and round we go. It's going to be rare where you're going to have to take too much time on your turn. So much so that I probably think this game would have benefited coming with its own bell. It's either that, or you're going to be saying the word pass or the name of the player to your left in your sleep that night. Now, the set collection and area control elements to the game on their own don't make for a remarkable gameplay experience, but what sets it apart and elevates it to exceptional in that regard is each of the tribe's signature abilities. Now, the game comes with 12 different tribes and you're going to be playing with either 5 or 6 depending on the player count, and each of them largely bring their own thematic strategy to the game that really does bring the game to life. Now, one minor negative, I don't believe the game is perfectly balanced. If you treat this as a set collection game first and go for those larger band of tribes to gain points, you're probably going to benefit than trying to control areas of the board, because there's a bit too much volatility in gaining glory in the area control aspects. Yes, you could argue it's high risk, high reward, but to me the rewards needed to be even higher to make it perfectly balanced. So in terms of the look and feel and theme of the game, well, it's a bit of a hit and miss affair here. First with the negative, obviously, the artwork on the cards almost made me want to cry, and the player board itself I can best describe as bland. They just made some poor decisions from my perspective here, but obviously these things are subjective. However, component quality across the board is of a high standard, and the rulebook itself, it really is of an excellent quality. It's going to get you to the table very, very quickly, and if you take the time to read the fluff in the rulebook, especially those of each of the tribes, that's going to only enrich the thematic experience. However, with all that being said, Dice vs Cards are going to give a final score of 8 out of 10. Now, this is a game that I'm confident will appeal to a great deal of you and will provide a fun and engaging gameplay experience. However, that's it from me. I'll see you next time.